Hi, everyone. Welcome to Membership Voice. I'm Kero O'Shea, the coordinator of The Voice and the host for this evening's webinar. A very special welcome to tonight's presenter, District 9640 Club Builder and President Cole Lee from the Rotary Club of Ballina on Richmond. Hey, Cole, how are you?
Yes, very, not too bad, thanks, Kero. Not too bad.
Great,
All good.
great.
Looking forward to telling a good story tonight.
Before I go any further, I do need to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which I'm hosting tonight's webinar, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm hosting tonight's webinar. I acknowledge the strength of their continuing culture and offer my respects to elders past, present and emerging. Okay,
Yes,
Cole, over to you, please,
Kieran.
mate.
Well, thank you and welcome everyone, and thanks for joining tonight. My story is related to setting up satellite clubs and most particularly the satellite club of Ballina Lifestyle Club. The difference with this club is that the satellite club is made up of members predominantly from an over 55s residential resort where I happen to live here in Ballina. There's about 530 people live here, so you've got a good target market. And of course, a number of those people have already served many years in community service, whether it be Rotary, Lions, CWA, Girl Guides, whatever. So straight away, you've got a good target market.
Okay.
So I happen to be the president of the Rotary Club of Ballina on Richmond, as Kero mentioned, and our club does a lot of marketing. We do a radio show once a month. We are on lots of digital marketing that we do. We also are in a number of the local newspapers. So I'm quite well known here in Palm Lake, and people recognise that I'm in Rotary because we really market our club very, very well and very heavily. I also have the pleasure of working on the Palm Lake Club House Bar, and that's where I meet a lot of people. And a number of these people were coming up to me and saying, you know, I was in Rotary for 20 years, or I was in Rotary for 15 years. I was in the Lions Club for 35 years. Taking into account that these people are probably in their middle to late 60s to up to probably mid-80s. They knew what community service was about, and they said, gee, you know, we miss all the friendship and all the mates we have, and they tell you stories what happened in their own clubs. And one of the big things that happened was that we actually invited a couple of these interesting people from Palm Lake as guest speakers to the Ballina and Richmond Rotary Club. And I picked them up, and on the way home, both these people said, you know, you should start a Rotary Club here. And I thought about it, and I thought, okay, where do we go from here? I believe that we've got a good audience, and we've probably got a number of people that would be very anxious to be involved. I asked a number of these people that were speaking to me, would you like to join our Rotary Club? Oh, no, I don't want to commit all that time to Rotary. It's just, you know, we've done all that. But I still love the community side of Rotary and what it stands for. So I spoke to, having been on the District Extension Committee, I had an idea of what satellite clubs were about. I had quite a good idea about satellite clubs. I spoke then to our president, DGN Dave, who's on this Zoom meeting tonight, and Dave and I discussed it. We then went to District Governor at the time, Andy Rajeski, and we thought, yep, let's pursue a Rotary Club, but why don't we do a satellite club and just market it that it's not the demands, the weekly demands or the bi-weekly demands. It's not as expensive, And most importantly, it's more social because it can be very flexible on when you can meet. So from there, I spoke to a Rotarian here that's not a member of my club, but a member of a club actually in Lismore, which is a town just up the way from us, but he lives here, and also a past Rotarian from Sydney who retired here in Palm Lake, if they wanted to have a discussion on forming a satellite club. Now, the member from Lismore was very anxious, very pleased to do it but couldn't be a member because he wanted to stay with and keep involved with his Lismore club. But he's a very knowledgeable Rotarian, so we convened a meeting, and so from there from that first casual meeting, we sat down and we made a list. We organised a way of moving forward with the concept, and we made a list of about 30 people who we believed would be people to approach in order to see if they would be like become involved with the satellite club. This casual meeting, we then went to our friend Jody to do a flyer up. We made a date to have a meeting, and we thought, okay, well, we'll see if we can encourage people to show an interest for our first meeting. So Jody made us a wonderful sign, and Jody's on this Zoom meeting tonight. And so she made this flyer up for us, and we worked out what we wanted to do. We had 30 people at that stage that were interested. So we went out and spoke to each of these people individually. We gave them a flyer and an invitation. I then went and put a flyer up, and this is where it's very interesting for anybody there that lives in a complex like I do. Some of the situations you get in a facility like this, I put a flyer on our club notice board. I went back the next day and the flyer had been taken off. So I thought, okay, well, I'll put another one up. So I did that. Next day came back and it had gone down. And the reason for that was that even though I had spoken to the manager here to tell him what I was proposing to do, and I would be knocking on people's doors, and I spoke to the head of the residents committee, they were both in favour because what they could see, it was another outlet for residents here as a place or another idea that they could go and meet different people. They can get involved in the community. They understood what community service is all about. Thought it was a great idea. But however, one of the members of the residents committee, who was a past Rotarian, made the comment, oh, look, all that's going to happen in this place, all they're trying to do is trying to get members for Rotary, which was absurd. My idea for setting up the satellite club had nothing to do with gaining membership. We wanted community-minded people that would get some fellowship, some pleasure, and another activity in their life. That's all it was. It was nothing to do with putting our hand up and say, oh, we've got another, 10 or 15 or 20 members. Was not even in my mind. The whole motivation was, let's get something going that's going to be beneficial to the residents here in Palm Lake, which is the name of the facility I live. It even made us a bit more determined. We had another meeting and we thought, okay, well, let's just go along and see how many we've got a date set. We've got a venue away from this facility, so it was not going to be shown that it's all about Palm Lake, because we wanted other members in the community to come on board and join our satellite club as well, which is exactly what's happened. The idea of this membership, just numbers, certainly was something that we had to say to everybody, and particularly the residents committee here. That's totally wrong. You got the whole wrong idea about it. But anyhow, they're all on side, and now it's wonderful. So from there, we had our information morning, which was held away from our Palm Lake facility here. We had 26 people attend, which was a great roll-up. We put on morning tea and we sat down and we had a PowerPoint presentation on exactly what satellite clubs are, what was required. Most importantly, we touched mainly on fellowship, friendship, and the opportunity to come on board with a number of our Ballina Richmond community service projects. They didn't have to go out and beat the street and sell raffle tickets and do all sorts of things. They can just tag on to the Rotary Club of Ballina Richmond's fundraisers, which, as you'll hear as we go on, has been amazing success for both Ballina Richmond and also, of course, the Satellite Club. So as you can see by that slide, we had quite a number of people along there. We had 26 attend, 13 said yes, they want to join. So straight away, District Governor Andy didn't mess around. He had, before we knew it, he had a chairman, a secretary and a treasurer elected, and the Satellite Club of what we call Ballina Lifestyle, being a place where we live, was chartered with 13 members on the 22nd of March. Keeping in mind that really we only need 8 members to form a satellite club. So with that, those 13 members, the other 13 members went away. Some said, no, not for us, but there was quite a lot that were very keen to learn more and continue on with the idea of a satellite club. So that was on the 22nd of March. We had everything happening there. It was all going along quite well. We had, next slide, thanks, Kiro. So on the 18th of May, we actually had our wonderful charter celebration. On that day, we had the 13 members which were part of the initial inaugural meeting who wanted to join, and we signed them up on the day. Then another 10 came along and became members on the day at the charter celebration for the Rotary Satellite Club. That was a wonderful day, and a day that looked very, very positive for the future. And then once that was over, the club had a meeting and a couple of the together, and all was going well. And then we had a real hiccup. The chairman, who happens to be my next door neighbour, but a great person and very professional man, didn't have a lot of community service. He was very involved in other things and very professional. So he couldn't work out, he and the secretary and a couple of others couldn't work out why you belong to an organisation as volunteers and you do all sorts of things. You read to people in aged care units, you help push people up and down the road that are in aged care units, you do other activities with our Rotary Club, why you should pay any fees. Now, on the day, the inaugural meeting, we went through this quite thoroughly, but we made the call that the fees that were presented on the day weren't necessarily what was going to happen when the new governor came in. Because it was only a couple of months out between then and the end of the end of the Rotary year, there was no point in really confirming fees. And to be honest with you, we hadn't probably given it enough thought. Something that's really worthwhile going through, which I'll go through in a moment. The chairman on the day of the charter celebration, his address pointed that he didn't understand why we should pay fees. And after about 2 weeks, came and saw me and he said, "This is no good. People are complaining they might have to pay $300 a year and they've got to do, and then the volunteers. This doesn't seem right, the way all this works." So anyhow, we went through all that again. And I said to him, "Look, we've got to look at the fee structure," which we said right from day one, which we'll do at the start of the new governor's year. At that time, I was going away for a couple of months. Fortunately, COVID cut that short. So I was back before too much drama had happened. But what we did in the interim, I was quite concerned about it, mainly because of the hype of all the build-up when we kicked this satellite club off. Sat down with DG Andy and went through with the chairman, and Andy came up with a concept: why don't we make this into a community corps club? I hadn't had much knowledge of what community corps clubs were, but I did know that once I did some research, I found that it certainly wasn't the model that we were looking for. It's a great model if you're in a third world country with polio plus and helping in these war-torn areas as a backstop for Rotary. It's not professional. There's no real pleasure out of it. It's just sort of a tag along. So I got back to Andy and I said, "No, I'm going to stick with what we're doing." And Andy and also Dave, President Dave, felt, no, you're going the right way. I took it to my Rotary Club, which I had to do because I said that I'd do that. It was unanimously felt that we would stick with the satellite model, which we'd already chartered and got going. Community corps didn't suit the style of club that we wanted. It wasn't right for the members, and it wasn't right for the look of the whole and pleasure that would be gained. There was no pleasure in a community corps. It was just may as well be just doing volunteering on the side of the street. So once I got back to the satellite club chairman and secretary and the executive, I said, "Look, we are not changing the focus and not changing our model as a satellite club. We're going to stick with that." So the chairman and the secretary resigned pretty much on the spot. And that was a decision they made. And you've got to understand that that's all good. At the time, it was pretty stressful, but I accepted all that. And then the next thing I was able to do, I had to appoint an interim chairperson. And the interim chairperson, and what I'd really recommend to any person, any club, I should say, that's thinking of forming the satellite club, have a past president from your own club to be the inaugural chairperson. I was very fortunate that when I asked for somebody to volunteer as the chairperson or interim chairperson to finish the term out, one of our past presidents, Bev Burnham, who you see there, wonderful, wonderful Rotarian, been in our club for probably 25 years, past president, always puts a hand up, very experienced. she said, yeah, dear, I'm happy to do this. And the good thing with Bev, no disrespect to Bev, but is the fact that her age was very similar to a lot of the members of the satellite club. So it was a really, really good fit, and it's been another wonderful success. So it's important that rather than just selecting a chairperson off the floor at a meeting to run the satellite club, you're much better. I'd totally strongly advise to get a member, a past president, member of your own of the sponsor club, to be the inaugural chair. So Bev, Bev's taken over. She's got a new executive. We've got a secretary straight away, very competent lady, who's one of the heads of the Girl Guides in Australia. Just recently got an Order of Australia for her work for the Girl Guides. Very competent. And our treasurer there, the lady next to me, Patricia Wilson, was one of the early female members of a Rotary Club in Lismore, another very competent person. So the executive there for the Satellite Club, we've got Patricia, the secretary, Bev, of course, is the interim chairperson, and Helen Hargraves, really competent people. Helen's husband is a member of the Rotary Club of Lismore West, and so she's got really good Rotary knowledge as well. So that was the structure we got happening. At that particular meeting, when Bev, I inducted Bev as the interim chair, I brought up a new fee structure, which we worked on, which was really the turning point for the Satellite Club. What it did, it took away the concern about being too expensive. And I know what a lot of people will be thinking. Well, okay, we live in a facility here where, not saying the wrong thing, but everything here is pretty expensive. It's a nice facility. Thankfully, the flood didn't come through, so prices here are very high. But there's a lot of people here that can't just go out and spend like 300, and then you've got a partner, which is another 100. Probably would have been about 250. So then you've got meals and things. So what we did, we looked at the fee structure and came up with a wonderful concept. So going from initially 300 as the fees are for the Rotary Club of Ballina and Richmond, we were able to make changes. And the changes were that we just do it base rates. So we have RI dues. This is for a single person. RI dues are $84. You have insurance of $44, the conference levy of $20, and the RDU magazine, which they all get digitally, is $34. The district dues are subsidised 50-50, which is $70, are subsidised by the Satellite Club and Ballina and Richmond. So Ballina and Richmond pay $35, Satellite Club pay $35 from their fundraising activities. So from a $300 where it started, has brought the annual fee for an individual back to $182. Now this gets a bit complicated, but for a couple, I don't know if every district's the same, but the district dues for 9640 for a couple or a partnership in the same residence, there are no district fees. So straight away, the $70 you don't have to worry about. Then there's only one RDU magazine, whether it be digital or hard copy, come into the same residence. So that brought that down to 148. So rather than a couple in the Rotary Club of Ballina and Richmond's case, you're looking at 230 and 300, which is 530. It brought this down to $330. So there was a $200 saving, which we say can be paid half yearly or quarterly, yearly, half yearly or quarterly, suited everyone. And big saving, and was the difference between a high fee of, a normal fee of 300 back to 182 for a single. And for a couple, you're looking at 330. Now, taking in mind that probably about 60% at least of the members are couples. So overall, it works out quite reasonable to belong to the Satellite Club. And members like that idea. So it all was moving forward, and became a really happy organisation. Currently, with that bit of a disturbance early in the piece, we've got around 20 members, and this slide was taken a little while ago, but we've got about 20 members, and then there's another 4 that will be joining hopefully within the next month. They've all signed the membership for. So I can say in the next month or 2, we'll have 24 members of the Satellite Club, which is a good, strong club. The majority of the members are from Palm Lake here. We do have 3 or 4, I think there's about 4 that aren't. They are outsiders, and they really enjoy the camaraderie, the fellowship, and they've made lovely friends, both Satellite members and these other people that aren't from Palm Lake. They've made lovely, long friends. So a really good scenario. The Satellite Club, just in less than 12 months, when it was really starting to move again, just to give you an idea of how involved these people are and how much they're enjoying it. They do Bunnings barbecues. The Rotary Club of Ballina and Richmond helps them because our Bunnings barbecues here are pretty busy, and they need a bit of extra support from a few younger guns that can help. That works well. We do a pro rata on what we make. The Satellite Club assisted at our major fundraiser for our Rotary Club, which is the annual duck race, and they ran the barbecue there, which was busy. They made about $2,500 on the day, which was great. Rotary Club of Ballina and Richmond, one of our corporate members is the St Andrews Aged Care Facility. They get us to do Christmas lights each year, which is a big job. We put about 14,000 lights up, and we're very handy here that they have a couple of Sparkies, retired Sparkies, so they're very helpful when it comes to hooking lights and things up. So they help us with that. Our Rotary Club is very involved with the Ballina Hot Meal Centre, which is the facility to help provide meals for homeless, the lonely, disadvantaged, financially disadvantaged, and particularly elderly. We have a couple of members of the Satellite Club that assist us with that. Ballina and Richmond's very involved with that particular facility. The Satellite Club also does the Tuesdays for the Breakfast Club. They man the Tuesdays for the Breakfast Club. We've got a Lights for Seniors project, which is a new project that we're looking into. It would have been up and running apart from the floods, but on the main committee for that, one of our members who's got a wonderful history with marketing and advertising. I own a huge advertising company in Sydney. He's our marketing person for that. He's doing a spectacular job with television, videos, and all the audio and video effects for that. ESCA bags, which is the escape bags for given to women escaping domestic violence. The Satellite Club members, particularly the ladies, amazing. I forget how many they made, but there was a lot of them, I think hundreds, that all went down to Wollongong where those bags are dispatched. And the latest thing that they're doing is they're helping with a school in the Northern Territory to run a program for entrachoma, and that's the entrachoma kits that you do in the schools. They're Aboriginal schools or Indigenous schools where there's a lot of trachoma, and the project's been around quite a while. They are actually providing the kits for that, which is soap and towels and shampoo, more that style of thing. The club has got a lot happening. They've got their own shirts, as you can see, which are really stylish shirts. They're really proud of those. And the members meet lunchtime and through the month for a social outing. Today they had a social outing. They had about 35 people. We had a barbecue, which was here actually in Palm Lake at one of the barbecue facilities we have. So there was about 35 people turned up today. And lovely thing about it, 4 people confirmed their membership. So that's really positive stuff. They do have a good time. They're happy to go out together, fellowship, and show that a satellite club's got more than just be tagging along with clubs like the Rotary Club of Ballina and Richmond, which we really appreciate. The greatest advantage of this club for Ballina and Richmond has just been proven in the last 2 months. I think most people who are on this Zoom meeting will understand the unbelievable devastation we've had in our region with flooding. We had 2 floods within a couple of weeks, massive floods, biggest ever on record. And if you look at the top picture there, those double-storey houses, some of those houses in other lower-lying areas, the water was over the roof, and we've had massive devastation. Our Rotary Club, Ballina and Richmond, got out on about the day of the flood. As soon as it came and started, we had all this rain. We were on the job, helping, cooking, providing assistance, pressure cleaning, whatever we could do. Members of our club are out and about. Satellite Club were anxious to give us a hand. Some did for a little while, but then we got a call from 2 of the villages south of Ballina, namely Wardell and Wardell and Broadwater. Both of those facilities or both of those towns were just devastated by these floods. And the army had moved in, and one of the stipulations with the army, they said, yeah, we'll move in providing you can guarantee that you can provide meals for our army. There was about 300 of these guys, Ballina, Wardell and Broadwater. They each had about at least 150 because of the devastation in those towns. If you can provide breakfast and lunch for these guys, we've got tea covered or dinner at night. So we were asked by the community service and evacuation centres, because we were cooking for the evacuation centres, and people had met a couple of us and said, what's the chances of going down to Wardell and Broadwater to do this. Now, each of those stations, which we set up, which were sausages, bacon and eggs, sandwiches, fruit, chicken, whatever. A lot of people were donating things which we were cooking on barbecues. That we needed 8 people at each of those meal centres. The Satellite Club were there for us. We ran this 7 days a week. We were there for about 5 weeks. Satellite Club provided people every day. They had people rostered on every day, like our Rotary Club, Ballina and Richmond. One of the things that allowed Ballina and Richmond members to do, because we've got a membership of around 50 members, we were able to get out and do other things such as motels, caravan parks, houses, residences and businesses. We were able to get out there and help people evacuate, to clean, to get their belongings in order. Big job. We were pressure cleaning and we were helping all the way. So that's helped us there. And the Satellite Club were able to man these for us together with our own club. In the 5 weeks we were there manning, we estimated we did over 27,000 meals. The Palm Lake, some of the Palm Lake Satellite Club members who weren't able to go down and man these barbecues, they were at home and they had a sandwich station doing 250 sandwiches a day, which were going out to all these places that were affected and to the army. So Satellite Club for us has been an absolute blessing, not only for the help they gave us at our duck race and a few barbecues and other things, but most particularly this disastrous flood where they worked tirelessly from 7:30 in the morning to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, happily, with the same passion that we as Rotarians experience every day. So a wonderful story that's developed in a wonderful club that's just given us so much support. So just as a quick summary for everyone, if you're thinking of starting a satellite club, just select the executive wisely and most importantly, have a current experienced past president as the charter chairperson. Be aware of the policies within gated communities because sometimes they don't always gel with doing something against what they're actually running within their communities. Satellite Club is an excellent model for community-minded people that like the idea of community service, but not the demands that a normal mainstream club may have. As I discussed previously, it's just far more flexible, far easier to maintain a satellite club, and it's just less meeting style, the way the meetings are. The sponsor club, of course, elects the fees, and they can, I'd suggest, certainly support the fee structure to make it more affordable. Meeting times and venues can be flexible. This satellite club, they meet somewhere different for a coffee or a barbecue as they did today. The meeting venue currently has changed a couple of times. There's been a few different venues, and currently they're actually meeting at one of the other facilities here on the Palm Lake complex. Important that the Satellite Club has a strong mentor, preferably a couple. Jody and I are the mentors for the Satellite Club, and when they want some advice, we're more than happy to give it, and they're very happy to give us all the support they can. And of course, working with the sponsor club, on projects has so many benefits because it just gives so many more members to work with, as we found out in the floods, like putting 8 people every day out there, 7 days a week for about 5 weeks. Big ask, but they turn up day after day. So all in all, that's a bit of a summary and overview. Just thank you, everybody, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions that you may have. All I can say is the satellite model is a fantastic model for Rotary. It's something particularly that can be adapted very easily in resorts like Palm Lake or any other facility which are gated communities like we have here. It works well because you've got a captive market, but it hasn't got to be restricted, as I mentioned, to just members of the residents of the community. You can bring outsiders in, which has been very, very important for us. We've got people there at the hot meal centre doing deliveries and pickups, a couple of members there. Really, really a great model and something that I couldn't stress great enough for what's happened to Ballina and Richmond Club, and most particularly the members of this wonderful satellite club that we've formed, which is just a joy to be part of. So thank you for your attendance here in this Zoom meeting, and I hope you've found it enlightening and beneficial. Thank you.
Cole, that was fantastic. Thanks, mate. You mentioned that the difference in fees, say 300 to the 182, I think you said,
Yep.
was a deal breaker.
Yes.
If Ballina and Richmond, this is a hypothetical, had said no, they've got to pay the full tote odds, what would you see? How many members do you think you might have?
Good question. I'm going to say it might have dropped it by, I'd say at least 25%.
Mm-hmm.
But it would have soured the relationship. So, and the people I'm thinking of are the people who may have pulled out in the 30%, and therefore it might have affected these people who are bringing in new members. So, yeah, that was a deal breaker, Hero, that just bringing the fees back, a couple of $100 for a couple was a big change, and it was good for us to do it too. It showed goodwill to the members, and from a Rotary point of view, and from a sponsor club point of view, it showed goodwill to the members, and it showed good practice. It didn't cost us a heck of a lot of money because most people are coupled, so it wasn't that much money at the end of the day.
Super. Past Governor Pushpa has a question about the Escobags. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Over to you, please, Pushpa.
Thank you for your presentation. My question is, besides the Escobag bags or whatever you call it, plus, how long has this satellite club been operating? And what was the initial number of members? And what is the current status of your membership? Thank you, Colin.
Okay, thank you. The initial number of members we had, the charter number of members was 13. That was in March of last year, 2021. In May 21, when we had the charter lunch, and the charter was presented to the satellite club, we had the 13 plus another 10 members joined on the day, so we had 23. Because of the problem with the fees, we lost about I think we lost 5 members. So then today we've got 20 members, with 4 will be joining within the next month or two. So I can see we'll be up to about 24, hopefully by July meeting. So that's where we are there.
And how long has the club been existing?
The club's been existing. It's been very disruptive. The club's been going for about 12. What's it? Say May. Well, really 12 months. 12 months, really, when the charter was presented.
Mhm.
So it's been going for 12 months.
Okay. And the bags, please give me an explanation and what does it contain? Thanks, Glenn.
Okay. The bags are a bag that is made from material. They are used and they contain toiletries, personal items for women and children that are given to women and children who the police, some of the refuges are taking in that come from domestic violence situations, and they have got something. Most of these women and family come, they escape from a situation, and they just might pick up their telephone and their purse, and they're gone. Sometimes with nothing, not even a purse. So once they get to a refuge or the police, they can find accommodation that's safe. The Esker bags have a lot of toiletry items. Basically, they'll have some bits and pieces for the kids, like colouring books, maybe some clothes, just items that are used in emergency situations. So that's what's in those kits. The bags, the Satellite Club ladies in particular, they did a lot of them. They did probably a couple of hundred, which was a wonderful assistance for the Australian Esker bag people.
I'm going to go over to Matt McLeod now. Matt's got a string of questions for you as a Satellite Club specialist from New Zealand.
I was interested to hear about the district policy about having discounted rate for couples. I've never heard of that before, and certainly I don't think there's any districts in New Zealand that do that. Is that a common thing in Australia or just in your district?
Something that's DG and Dave, if he's there, may be able to have more enlighten us a bit more on that than I can. But I think it was just the year before last, District 9640 decided that for couples in the same residence, there would be only one district fee, which is in our case $300. $70. So there's only one of the couples in the marriage or partnership that pay $70. So that's been, I'm sure it's in its third year. DG and David probably have a better history on that than I would if he's able to answer that question, Matthew.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. And hi, Matthew. Yeah, that's correct, Cole. I'm pretty sure this is the third year. And our current district governor is supporting it. And I'm pretty sure the incoming district governor is going to support it as well. We have seen a big increase throughout the district of couples joining Rotary through that initiative. Also, Cole, even though it doesn't apply to the Satellite Club so much, but we have an under 30s discount as well for under 30-year-olds that join our clubs. So
yeah, correct. Thanks, Dave.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I might touch base with you offline and find out a bit more about that. So 9640, I better write that down. Secondly, were there any grumbles from the members of the parent club about that subsidy? Did they think it was unfair that they were effectively sort of having to cover the reduced cost for the Satellite Club members, or were they
Matthew, none at all. They could see the merit in it. Our club, wonderful members, they want to see the Satellite Club work. It wasn't a hard sell, I can tell you, to get that across the line. It just made good sense. So we didn't have any issue with that at all.
Okay, well, that's good. And did you get any initial support from the district, and other than those amazing discounts they're giving you, towards just the general setup costs?
Yes. DG Andy at the time was quite generous. He there's a number of quite good financial assistance with marketing and charter and what else? There was, look, it was all the initial cost was basically borne by, to set up the satellite club was borne by the district. Andy was very generous with a number of the things that clubs need. He was happy to pay for all that. I was going to say he paid for the T-shirts, but he didn't. He did that for our Interact Club. So, yeah, but overall, district were wonderful. Yeah, DG Andy was very generous. There was very little cost at all. There was no cost to very minimal cost to Ballina and Richmond, and zero to the satellite club for any of the initial costs.
Oh, very good.
Set up websites.
Final question I have for you is just another approach that we are operating here with one of our satellite clubs in an area where the fees really do make a big difference, and it's difficult for the members to afford them, is having a corporate sponsor. I was just wondering about whether the gazer community that you guys, the members live in, the cost to them, if you multiply 25 members by $100 or whatever that you want to discount it by, that's not a huge amount over the course of a year for them to have effectively like sponsorship of the group. And if they can see the benefit that it's having to the community, that would sound like something that might be an easy sell to someone like that.
It's a lovely idea, Matthew, but truly I wouldn't go down that track in this gated community.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic place to live, but there are people, right, initially that caused problems with setting up the satellite club here. I just stay under the radar with all this. Everybody's happy. They're happy with the fees. We did speak from that initial meeting that perhaps this facility might be a sponsor for various things. I must say, with that, we've run a major fundraiser for the floods to assist people who are just devastated by the floods, and Palm Lake residents and the facility itself within the residents, not from the parent company that owns Palm Lake. They've got about 30 of these things down the coast, have been very generous and supported us financially very, very well to help us raise a lot of money. But I haven't gone, when it comes to the satellite club, no, I don't think there's a lot of people that on these committees that understand the true value of what it does with the people that live here.
Yep. Cool. Thank you for answering all those questions. That's awesome. Thanks.
Pleasure.
How, and this I suppose is an opinion, what do you see the work that you guys have done in terms of assisting the community with flood relief and the like? How do you see that impacting the overall two clubs' reputations in the community and how they're going to be seen?
Well, I think if you speak to both Jody, DG and Dave and Robbie, we are top of the cards here. We have people, Ballina and Richmond Rotary Club, and to a lesser extent the Satellite Club, everybody knows. If you walk down the street for locals, I'd say 8 out of 10 people would have know about Ballina and Richmond Rotary Club. They know what we do. We're out there all the time. It's certainly, our reputation here is just phenomenal. With the projects we've got and just how we apply ourselves to crisis and disasters like we have is so commendable. Our members have just stepped up so much. The domestic violence thing, our mental health seminar that we've Dave's and we're planning coming up. These things are on the tip of everybody's tongue. We try to be a step ahead of the rest, and we really are, Kiro, and we're well known, we're well respected, and we have a great reputation. Thank you.
Fantastic. I mean, everything I've seen and heard about what you guys are doing is absolutely awesome. So we've just about run out of time, but there's a question that I always like to ask great Rotarians, and Colin, and what I'd like to ask you, please, is, Colin Lee, why are you in Rotary?
I started Rotary because I've been in, it's 50 years for me in community service this month, believe it or not, Kiro. I was just ticking this. I was in a couple of other organisations prior to that, which I still am, but they weren't giving me a lot of motivation, and they just didn't branch out like Rotary does. Rotary is an organisation that gives so much self-esteem. It helps you to develop as a person and an individual. And most importantly, we can just do so much good. And we've got so many great people around us that really invigorate us and inspire us. I love all these young members in our club. Fantastic. They just keep you going and motivated. You know, I'm getting past all this, but wow, it's so good to have young people around you that really want to be part of the community and do what we do. Thank you.
Colin Lee, you are a long way from being past it. And just for everyone's information, we were originally going to run this webinar, well, I think about 2 months ago. It's going back a way now. But of course, the floods, these horrific floods came along, and we deferred, obviously, for that. But since then, in preparation or in the lead up to this, Colin's come down with COVID-19, and not feeling 100%. So I said, okay, let's defer it. But he said, no way in the world. I've committed to tell this story, and I'm going to share it with the zone. So at this stage, if everyone would switch their microphones on, please. If ever anyone deserved a huge round of applause, it's Colin Lee. So if you could please, hang on, whoa. No, let's coordinate this. So, okay, let's give Cole a big round of applause. Go on, yeah. Good on you, Cole. Great work, mate.
Thanks,
Great
Kiro,
work.
and thanks everybody for your interest.